Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's been a minute. Thought let's do a video for Game Week 20. Even though we've still got so much more information to come, I'm definitely recommending you guys save your transfers, hold your transfers, tank those price drops, because we're going to be getting so much information over the next 24-48 hours where we're going to get double Game Week announcements with Game Week 21. We could see the Man City versus Spurs double Game Week in Game Week 20 not actually go ahead. That's not a guaranteed double Game Week there. And even Manchester United could get a double in Game Week 20. So we'll find a lot out in the next 24-48 hours, particularly by Monday. We should know a lot. But for now, still doesn't stop us from having a fun discussion about some differentials. So that was what we're going to do today. A little bit of a fun video just before we get the information. This is a bonus video if you're just really missing FPL content, basically. So if you do enjoy this one, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. We're going to go through 25 differentials that I think you're going to like. You think you're going to find exciting. Let's talk about them all. Alright, so we've got 25 players from the likes of Man City, Newcastle. We've got some Brentford players in here that we're going to talk about as well. We're going to put them into 5 categories. Must-buys, great options, good options, optionals and avoids. We're going to start off with the most popular, the least differential, I guess. And then we're going to finish off with the spiciest of the spicy differentials that hardly anyone in FPL is talking about having in their team at all at the moment. It's going to give you the real edge over your mates. So let's get started, guys, with, first of all, Raya, who I don't think is a super differential. But in terms of trying to find a differential keeper, I feel like he is the one that is maybe worth talking about. I'm going to put him in optional, but he's going to be a very low tier optional. I don't think he's a particularly good pick. I definitely don't think he's a great pick. You could go for him potentially. I don't know if I would make that transfer necessarily. If you're spending a transfer on Raya, then you've probably got too many transfers. Then like you're going to need the transfers. In fact, maybe he's even an avoid. I just don't think I'll be making this transfer necessarily. So I'm going to put him in like optional avoid category. He'd be like somewhere around there. Not really feeling this one. Brentford, I know they've kind of improved a little bit defensively recently, particularly now they're going to a back 5 formation, but I'm still not sure I fully trust them, even with the nice fixtures. You could go for it, but with the lack of double game weeks or unlikeliness of double game weeks coming up for Brentford, then probably not even worth thinking about, to be honest. Rodrigo, I spoke about a little bit last game week as a player to go for, and he did actually end up scoring against West Ham. So I do like this pick. I said before, I like this pick, maybe a little bit of a differential to go for. Still not too many people on Rodrigo. Most of the ownership of Rodrigo is those people who picked him up earlier on in the season. A lot of inactive teams have Rodrigo in there at the moment, so maybe among active players he's going to be a little bit of a differential for you. Leeds got some decent fixtures. Rodrigo got some very good form playing as a striker. We like him. I actually think he's a really good pick. Double game weeks possibility, but obviously we're going to find out more very soon about that, so maybe we don't want to talk about double game weeks too much, but there is possibility for Leeds to get one of them pretty soon. I'm going to put me in, I think, optional as well. I think we put him alongside Raya. If I'm totally honest, I think if I'm going to go for a Brentford defender, and I think I would consider it, maybe a 4.5 Rico Henry playing as like a left wing back at the moment could be a pretty nice alternative there. Try and get some attacking returns. Playing slightly further up the pitch might be quite nice, especially if we're back to this back 5 formation. Rico Henry could be a really nice choice there. So I think I prefer him to me. So I'm going to put me in optional. I think I would put Rico Henry slightly higher though. Next up, Heung-min Son. It's really difficult, isn't it? He's like a really nice kind of differential premium. Like he's the only differential premium really. But at the same time, he has been really quite poor this season. We have seen Spurs, get a couple of wins now in the FA Cup and in the Premier League as well. We've got this double game week most likely to happen, but not guaranteed, in Game Week 20, is going for someone like Heung-min Son rather than Harry Kane, particularly if you're like moving on Salah. You don't want Salah in your team anymore. Is Son a viable alternative? I guess maybe. I'm not super convinced by this one. I think I would rather hold Salah, because Salah, very likely that he does get a double game week in Game Week 21 as well. And if you're picking double Son in 20 or double Salah in 21, I think I'd rather take Salah, to be honest, particularly with Son's form and his numbers, not particularly good. Salah may not be banging them in every single game week, but his numbers are still very good. We saw him put in a good performance a couple of weeks ago, and he's on penalties as well. So Salah still preferred to Son, particularly as Salah is likely to get a double game week anyway. I think Son is optional as a differential, but he's not someone I'd be really keen to encourage you guys to go for. Next up, Callum Wilson. I'm really rating Callum Wilson on penalties, playing for this Newcastle side that is in form. We've got that Arsenal fixture out the way as well, so I think it is now time where we can start thinking about those Newcastle players once again and going back in on them, because really at the moment it is all about Newcastle, Arsenal and Manchester United. These are the three teams we really want to be targeting. Man City are rotating too much, Liverpool not really performing, Chelsea not really performing, Spurs, you know, we're talking Kane or nothing pretty much with Spurs, aren't we? So Newcastle players, we definitely want to be having a look to try and pick these players up. Wilson is now down to 7.2 million, so he's got a little bit cheaper there. I think he's a really, really nice pick. I definitely think he's a great option for you guys to go for. Same thing with Botman, 4.4 million defender, by far the best value for money you are going to get at 4.4 million or less. Arguably the best value for money you're going to get for a defender at even less than 4.5. He's definitely the defender I would recommend. I'm actually going to put him slightly ahead of Wilson. I really, really do like this pick, and he's still a differential. Going for the double Newcastle defense is still a little bit differential. So if you have that free Newcastle slot, you want to triple up, you're looking for a new defender, Botman is a really, really nice pick as well. Does very well for bonus points as well, which is not something that's spoken about too often. Next up, Bruno Fernandes. I guess he is kind of optional. If he gets his double game week, I think he goes up to a good option. I don't think he's a great option necessarily. He is still quite expensive for what he offers, but I know a lot of you guys have a lot of money floating about at the moment. If Fernandes does get his double game week in 20, I think it's a player that we could potentially talk about and could be a really quite powerful cutting differential. One thing I am a little bit concerned about is we did see Marcus Rashford take a penalty in the FA Cup with Fernandes on the pitch. So is that going to mean that Rashford is going to be taking penalties from here on? We know Rashford is a player in form. Rashford is definitely the Man United attacker to go for right now. But if you want to supplement him with someone like Bruno Fernandes, go for a little bit of a differential. I can kind of understand that. Eddie Nketiah got 2 double game weeks most likely coming up soon, so that's going to be pretty nice. But is he going to lose his place to the likes of Mudryk or maybe Felix if he comes to the Arsenal team? That's possible, but for now, 6.5 million for a forward. Arsenal double game is coming up, looks pretty good. Quite like this one. Gonna put him in great option, good option category. Ollie Watkins, the absolute troll. He's got some really good numbers at the moment, but I'm still not convinced by him enough to put him in the good option or the good option category. Like, Watkins is just such an FPL troll. Like, he goes off a little bit of a good streak, you jump on him and suddenly he does very badly. He's not a very consistent player, and although I do like the look of the new Aston Villa management under Emery, I'm not convinced that 7.1 million, do I want to be spending that on a forward slot when we've got the likes of Nketiah, Wilson, some other forwards as well, Harry Kane, a few of you guys thinking about. Erling Haaland automatically takes up a spot, doesn't he? Martial, some of you guys will be on as well. Nunez, we could go on and on. There's a lot of forwards out there. I think Watkins is an option. I think you can potentially go for him, but you've got to understand the risk that you are taking on when going for Watkins. We are going to have our first avoid of the video, and that's actually going to be Højbjerg. So, Højbjerg, 2.7% selected. What my issue is that we've got a defensive midfielder here, really, for 5.5 million. Although Højbjerg has picked up a few points this season, you know, a couple of goals, a couple of assists, it's not been anything major. We all have our concerns about Spurs as well. Like I say, this double game week isn't even guaranteed in game week 20, so those of you hopping on Højbjerg already, I think you might be a little bit disappointed, so I would advise patience on that one. And 5.5 million midfielder, if you can get, there's a lot of fantastic midfielders in FPL right now. Midfield is probably where we want to be spending most of our budget, really. Defense, we can go pretty cheap. Midfield, there's a lot of options. We've got Martinelli, Rashford, we've got the likes of some of the premiums as well. We could be doubling up on Arsenal midfield as well. Ødegaard, Saka kind of players we were all talking about. Is there a space for Højbjerg? In my opinion, probably not. Not for 5.5 million. If he was like a 4.55 million and you're just having him there as a bench player, bringing him on occasionally, I kind of understand, but maybe not. Brian Mbeumo, I'm also going to put in the avoid category. I know he's been doing quite well recently, particularly against Liverpool. We saw a good performance against Liverpool, but the problem is with this is that we kind of knew that that was going to happen. Liverpool are a team that are one of the weakest defenses in the Premier League right now, and they're particularly kind of, you know, they completely get destroyed by counter-attacking teams, pacey players playing in behind them, and Mbeumo is exactly that kind of player. So we knew that Mbeumo would probably get some kind of results against Liverpool. Now, if we go to some of the slightly more low block teams, this is where Mbeumo kind of fails a little bit more, doesn't get as much time on the ball, doesn't get one-on-one with the keeper as much, and also at the same time, Mbeumo, his finishing is not quite perfect, so 5.8 million looks like a decent price for him, but at the same time, is there a place for him in our FPL teams? I don't really think so. So yeah, I don't think I would be going for Brian Mbeumo based on the performance against Liverpool. I don't think he's going to get as much joy in future games, particularly if we've got likes of Tony back in the team as well. The focal point is going to move to Tony, isn't it, really? So yeah, going to put him in a void. I'm going to put Casemiro down here in a void as well. I'm actually going to put him lower than all of these players. Casemiro, fantastic player, really, really improved this Manchester United team, but his job is not to score goals. His job is not to, you know, get assists. So he's not going to get very many. He's kind of averaging, what, 1 goal and 1 assist maybe every 10 games. Not really good enough for our FPL teams. We do want to go for those players who are going to pick you up FPL returns every game, every other game. That's probably going to be good enough. But for a player who we're not going to ever play them in our first 11, doesn't really make sense to spend 4.9 million on them. And we have got another 4.9 million midfielder who I absolutely love, who we will be getting to fairly shortly. But before we do that, we've got a lot of Man City players to rattle through. So first of all, John Stones at 2.1% ownership. I think he's actually got to go into the good option category. I feel like Stones, of those Man City defenders right now, is arguably the most nailed on. He has probably, you'll probably say he's been the best defender in terms of actual performances, taking FPL aside for a minute. Actual performances, John Stones has been putting in some phenomenal performances for Man City. Man City's defence have got some incredible underlying numbers as well. Been very, very unfortunate not to keep clean sheets in some of their games since the break. But now, I feel like this is a defence I want to get in on, and Cancelo is obviously no longer an option. Cancelo's not going to get regular football anymore. Disappointing, but it's the reality. City still got some injuries there. John Stones, I think he is going to be playing near enough every single game. I think he's probably the most nailed on of all of the Man City defenders right now, and therefore he's got to go in the good option category. Next up, I'm going to put in a Digne. He's going to go in probably the avoid, really. Like, he's such an FPL troll. He's a good price though. He's on set pieces. He puts in a lot of crosses, but he's just such an FPL troll. Do you fancy the new look Aston Villa? I kind of do. I actually see where people are coming from. So maybe I slip him into the optional category. He's not a player that I personally be willing to take a risk on, but I can kind of understand why some people would go for Digne. I kind of get it, but not for me, friends. It's not for me, friends. Next up, Mahrez. Don't like this one, to be honest. I'm probably going to put him in a void. The reason being is because we still may see, like, on the right wing, probably going to see Foden come back into the team at times. You know, Foden is definitely not nailed at all, but we're going to see Foden sometimes on the right wing. We're going to see Alvarez sometimes on the right wing as well. I expect that Alvarez is going to be reintegrated into the team very, very shortly after his World Cup heroics. And Mahrez is you know, he's probably the guy who's going to get sacrificed, right? So therefore, think he's going to be in a void. I think he's going to be heavily rotated. Mahrez is more of a Champions League type player, and as soon as Champions League football comes back, we are going to see Mahrez out of the team quite frequently. So not a player I'd be looking to get for the double game week. I think his minutes are going to be limited. If you already have him, then fair enough, I would probably keep him, but I don't think I'd be going for him now. I think there are some slightly more nailed on City attackers, such as Haaland. That's pretty much it. Now, De Bruyne, of course, as well, and I actually think I prefer Grealish, but maybe he's on this list, so we'll talk about that shortly. Akanji, I'm not going to put him as high as John Stones. I'm actually going to put him, I feel like I have to put him in the optional category. He's definitely optional, but the thing is, we saw with Akanji, him getting dropped out of the team against Chelsea doesn't necessarily show that he's not going to play in the future. I think he is going to play in most games for Man City, but it did show that there are other options. He is maybe a little bit expendable. You know, we do like the looks of, you know, we acknowledge that John Stones is probably the better centre-back. Probably the same thing, you'd say a fit Laporte, a fit Diaz, probably slightly better defenders there as well. And I feel like Akanji is a player who can potentially be sacrificed in certain games. If there's a congested amount of fixtures, maybe Akanji does drop out occasionally. Akanji is going to be playing most games though, I would say, for now at least. But if we're thinking maybe longer term, there are safer options to go for, and one of them we are going to speak about very shortly. But first of all, a quick note on Tim Ream. So let's put him straight in the avoid category. I know the Fulham have kept clean sheets against Crystal Palace and Leicester. That is in the past. That's not going to keep happening. It's just not going to keep happening. Fulham are still a very bad defence, and they are going to concede a lot of goals, particularly as they have got some really, really tough opponents coming up next as well. So, yeah, Ream is just, for 4.5 million, like, it's just not a good price for him. He's not going to keep clean sheets. Like, I know he scored the other week. I know he got bonus points in game week 19. whatever. You know, these are points in the past. You can't access these points anymore by bringing them in now. They're in the past. Get over it. He is not going to be a good pick in the future. And all of those people who have Tim Ream right now, all of you guys, and I know there's a few of you right there. I know you're watching. You are going to be selling him very, very shortly, believe me. Next up, let's go back to the Man City players. We have got Nathan Ake, who I actually kind of like. I'm going to put him actually up in the good option category because I feel like Ake is kind of crucial to the way that Man City are playing at the moment, like playing as that left-sided centre-back with a little bit of freedom to roam forwards, you know, creating a little bit, having that like kind of progressive passing, comfortable on the ball centre-back on the left-hand side, left-footed naturally as well. I think it's actually quite important to the way Man City have set up at the moment, so I do think he's quite a good option. Certainly, I know some people are saying, should we go for a Kanji, should we go for Ake? The current Man City setup, I feel like Ake is the more nailed-on player, and actually a player who has just that little bit of attacking potential as well. Just a little bit. But mostly we are going to be looking for clean sheets. But yeah, kind of like Ake, you know, kind of like him. I'm really considering actually going for him myself. But let's move on to Jack Grealish. Do you remember? Before the Euros, there was a footballer that nobody knows, and his name is Jack Grealish, and we're going to put him in the optional category. He is a risky kind of optional player. We know every Man City attacker is risky. Every Man City player is risky, other than Haaland, De Bruyne, and Ederson at this point, really. So I'm not massive on any Man City player at the moment. I'd like to get one defender probably, but Grealish, I think I'd rather go for him than some of these other players, to be fair. So I think he is an optional risky kind of differential you could potentially go for if you really fancy it. Next up, Garnacho, and he is a player who I am going to actually put in the avoid category. I'm going to put him actually lower than some of these players. Garnacho's not actually played anywhere near to 90 minutes so far in the Premier League. We know Jadon Sancho's coming back. We've seen Fernandes playing on the wing. We've seen Anthony kind of be reintroduced in the FA Cup game as well. So the minutes for Garnacho are not going to be particularly good. And as a 4.2 million midfielder, if you're literally just trying to free up some budget and going for a super cheap midfielder, then I kind of get it. I do understand, like, you know, just having a defender, like having a bench player sit on the bench. But at the same time, Man United are playing very well, and I kind of would want to have, you know, 3 good playing, starting every week type Man United players in my team. And for that reason, he's got to go as an avoid for me. I would much rather fill my team. I mean, Shaw and Rashford are pretty much essential, and I'd rather supplement that with one other Man United player, whether that's De Gea, whether that's, you know, Bruno Fernandes, and whether that's, you know, even Anthony maybe as a bit of a punt, Martial as well. There's different players you could potentially go for there. Maybe another Man United defender. They're doing quite well defensively at the moment. But certainly, Garnacho, the minutes that he's offering, I know he's obviously huge bags of talents right there. He's really a star for the future, but for right now, not feeling it. Now, next up, I'm going to put Mitoma in must-buy. I love this pick. I guess he's not like a must-buy right now, but I feel like as a differential, 0.7% owned, this guy is just like such a beast at the moment. He's playing so well. He seems to have nailed himself on the left-hand side of that Brighton team as well, a super attacking Brighton team. And we have a strong suspicion that Brighton are going to get those double game weeks very, very soon as well. They're going to be getting maybe even multiple double game weeks over the next 5-6 weeks, which is really, really nice. And Mitoma, for me, 4.9 million. You can just leave him on the bench if you want, or you can roll him out every time that Brighton have a double game week if you want to do it that way. Mitoma is also playing against Liverpool next. I know it goes against everything we thought we knew about football in the Premier League, but Liverpool are a defence to target right now, and Mitoma plays them. So there's a lot to like here about Mitoma. So cheap, and I really am feeling like the move from Andreas Pereira to Mitoma, spending that extra 0.3 million to get this player who's got a couple of double game weeks coming up. Maybe you can sneak him into your team in certain game weeks as well. Could do really well. I think this is a real nice hidden gem for his price. I think he could be a must-buy. I think he could be. I'm going to leave him there for now. I know that's controversial, but I love this pick, guys. I really, really do love this pick. You guys know I like a differential. This is the differential for me. The differential of the video, I'm telling you. Next up, Cody Gakpo. I know you guys are excited about him, but probably a little bit too soon for him, so I guess let's put him in optional. I'm going to put him above some of these guys, but I'd probably rather go for like someone a little bit more tried and tested. The optional category really is players who I kind of understand why you might go for them, but players I wouldn't go for personally. So I guess we stick him in there. He could actually do really well for Liverpool. I imagine he probably will. But right now, I'm not fully ready. I want to see him in a Liverpool shirt before I buy him. I'm sorry, chaps. Doherty, I'm going to put in the avoid category. I know we think he's got a double game week, right? Does he actually have one? I guess we'll find out in the next 24, 48 hours. But even if he does, you know, we're talking about playing against Man City. We're talking about playing against Arsenal. These teams are good attacking teams, and Spurs, quite frankly, are not a good defence. They are conceding a lot of goals, particularly in the first halves of games. And you're going to probably find yourself a little bit disappointed by the likes of Doherty, Perisic, these players. So, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. Even if Spurs do get a double game week, I probably would just save my transfers and try and focus my transfers on hitting the future double game weeks rather than worrying about Spurs defenders, to be honest. So, it's going to go in the void for me. Yeah, unfortunately. Next up, we've got two super cheap players and super differential players. They really are. So first of all, we've got my guy Ferguson killing it last game week for Brighton at 4.5 million forward. I feel like he is the 4.5 million forward of choice. But I'm not quite happy to put him in the good option category because I do wonder when Welbeck comes back, is Ferguson going to be dropped? Is Welbeck going to come back into the team for Brighton? Are Brighton going to be buying a new forward in the winter transfer window? Looks like they might be. So again, Ferguson could see himself out. But at the same time, again, if they don't sign a new striker, if Welbeck continues to be out, if Ferguson continues his performances, and Brighton have these double game weeks, then this is kind of interesting. 4.5 million forward slot taken though. It's really difficult, this one. I kind of like it in a way. I'm going to put him high optional because I do really kind of see why people would go for him. I'm just not quite prepared to take that risk myself, but I'm almost there. I'm close. And finally, we've got Lewis. We've got Rico Lewis. 0.5% owned. I think we have to say he's a good option. A Man City defender that Pep Guardiola has pretty much said that Lewis is essential to the way Man City are playing right now. Do we put him higher than Nathan Ake? Possibly. He's so cheap. It's just kind of, it feels, again, it doesn't feel intuitive to go for Rico Lewis because is he going to be in the team long term? I mean, surely not. He's 18 years old. He's 3.9 million defender. He's playing for Man City, the best, arguably one of the best, you know, maybe the best defense in the whole league. It just doesn't make sense, does it, guys? But at the same time, he's starting every game. He came on against Chelsea. The game changed. He is everything. Pep Guardiola loves him. He is seemingly essential. Can he play every single game? Maybe. I don't know for sure. There's not really another player like him in the Man City team. So he kind of has to play in many ways. Is Lewis a great option? 3.9 million for a Man City defender. Is he? Doesn't feel right to put him there, does it? It feels like this one has to go wrong. It feels like it has to go wrong. If something is too good to be true, it normally is, right, guys? 3.9 million Man City defender, essential to the way they're playing. It looks good. It looks very, 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 very good indeed. So I guess we put him in there. Am I willing to take that risk? I don't know. It doesn't feel right. That's a crazy. It's a crazy one. It's a crazy one. In fact, I'd love to know what you guys think. Rico Lewis, yay or nay? Yes or no? Dub or L? Are you guys taking him? Where would you put him on this tier list? Is he an avoid for you? Do you think it's a straight up avoid? It doesn't feel right. But everything is telling us that he's a good pick. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But yeah, there we go. That's 25 players, all pretty differential players, all pretty interesting and exciting players. There are some players on here I really do like. Mitoma, love him. Botman, love him. Wilson, love him. Some of these other Man City defenders I like as well. Some of the other players a little bit more risky, but I know you guys are talking about these players. I know you guys are interested in these players. When it comes to differentials, a lot of them are going to be kind of risky. Popular players are often popular for a reason, and the differential, lesser-owned players are often lesser-owned for a reason. So they all carry the certain degree of risk, but that doesn't mean that we can't find a couple of hidden gems in there to spice up our team and maybe try and get a bit of an advantage over some of our mini league rivals. So there we go, guys. Let me know what you think about this tier list, or if there's any other differentials you want to talk about, drop them in the comment section as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe as well. And we're going to be back with regular content from Monday. And as soon as we get more information, guys, I promise you we will be back on regular content. It's just so difficult right now because, honestly, I know a lot of you guys have asked me, oh, what's your wild card strategy here? You're thinking about any chips? You know, what are you thinking about transfers? Right now, you know, if we're using buy, sell, keep, avoid, buy nobody, sell nobody, avoid everyone, sell no one. Did I already say that? Whatever. Keep everyone. Yeah, it's just not worth making transfers until we get more information because we're going to get bombarded with double game week information, and having that information is going to be so effective. It's going to change and mix up everything we do over the next few game weeks. It really is. It's going to be revolutionary. I'm very excited about it. We're going to be streaming it. We're going to be talking about it all coming next week. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on because you're going to need this info. But that's going to be it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.